Now, I had no idea that this colored red mulch was such a concern for so many gardeners out there. I really didn't think nothing about it when I put it down here. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope everybody out there is having an amazing day. On today's video, we need to pull back the tarp here on this no-till plot, check on it, see how it's doing, maybe give it a little water, maybe give it a little fertilizer, and just make sure we're doing all the right things so that we can be ready to plant some garlic here in a couple months. Before we do that, a couple things I want to address. So item number one to discuss here, we get from time to time people commenting on our videos and stuff talking about using their grass clippings as mulch in the vegetable garden. And every time I see a comment like this, the first thing that comes to my mind is, y'all must not have the same type of grass that we do. So down here we have this stuff called Bahia grass. And everybody's got a little bit of it in their yard. Some people may have a lot of it in the yard. But this stuff grows really, really fast, and it forms these little kind of forked seed heads like you see here. It's got all those little black seeds on them. Now, it doesn't really matter how often you cut your grass, you're still going to end up with some of these seed heads here because this stuff grows so fast. So even though I'm usually cutting my grass twice a week, especially this time of year when we're getting some rain and it's still pretty warm, I'm still getting a lot of these seed heads popping up between those mowings. So as a result, if I were to collect this stuff and add it to my garden, I would be creating quite the problem for myself because I'd be adding all these little black seeds here to my garden and really increasing my weed seed bank. Now, in addition to this Bahia grass, we've got centipede grass in our yard that's got seed heads on it. We've got Bermuda grass in our yard that's got seed heads on it. Now, if you go to town, you might find some pristine yards that don't really have any grass. It's forming a lot of seed heads. But out here in the country, we got all kind of different grass growing in our yard. And I just couldn't imagine adding this stuff back to the garden and really increasing the amount of weed seeds I have in my plot. So I said all that to say this: for those of you who are adding grass clippings back to your garden as mulch, what kind of grass do you have? Do you not have any seed heads when you're cutting the grass? Or if you do, are you just adding it all back and not really worried about it? And one side note about this whole grass clipping thing, call me crazy, but I had no idea people still bag their grass. Now, I know way back in the day when I was younger, bagging grass used to be a thing, but then all these companies started coming out with these more, high horsepower lawnmowers that just chop and shred everything up, that there wasn't really any need to bag the grass anymore because it was chopping everything up to the point where you weren't getting huge accumulations of grass in the yard when you cut it. So that's a new one to me. I had no idea people actually still bag grass. So hopefully some of y'all can provide some clarification on the whole grass clippings as mulch and bagging the grass deal. Now, I want to try to provide a little clarification on this red mulch here. So several videos ago, we added a good bit of this red mulch around our turmeric plants here in an attempt to try to smother out a lot of those weeds and grass that was growing up between them. We used the red mulch just because that was what was on sale at Lowe's at the time. Didn't quite have enough in the first trip, so I went back, and what was on sale when I went there the second time was this pine bark stuff here. So now we have a little bit of mixture between the red mulch and the pine bark. Now, I had no idea that this colored red mulch was such a concern for so many gardeners out there. I really didn't think nothing about it when I put it down here. But there were a lot of people who commented, and oh, you can't use that mulch because it's got all these dyes and stuff in it. It's going to be terrible for your food, all this stuff. So as I said, I really didn't feel concerned when I put the stuff down in the first place. I still don't feel concerned about using this red mulch. So on the bag itself, it said all natural forest products with all natural dyes. But then we had all those people commenting, so I did a little research myself and even made a phone call to make sure I was on the right track. So there's a guy I know that works for a really big forestry sawmill operation about an hour away, and he works in their wood chip or compost division. So what he does is basically takes a lot of the scraps from the sawmill and they sell them by the truckload to these companies who then bag them up and end up selling them at places like Lowe's and Home Depot. So I said, if anybody would know, this guy would know, since he's selling, you know, these wood products, these scraps and stuff to these companies who are bagging them. So I'll call him and ask him if there's any worries about using this red mulch. And he told me that there's really nothing to worry about as far as the red mulch goes. He said that if there was anything harmful in it, that the EPA and other regulatory agencies wouldn't let them even sell it as a landscaping product. So that's why they have to use the all-natural dyes to color the mulch. So what they do is they basically take these loads of wood chips, run them through a machine, and they use iron oxide to color it red. So it's basically like liquid rust. So nothing harmful at all. May add a little extra iron to your soil, who knows. But you're not going to kill your vegetables. You're not going to hurt yourself by using this red mulch in your garden. And before we get back to the task at hand here with our tarp, let me just say about the whole red mulch thing. I appreciate any and every type of comment on all of our videos. Had people not commented saying they were worried about the red mulch, I would have never thought to research it, would have never thought to call this guy and try to seek out the truth somewhat. So we do appreciate any and all comments because they help us think, and the more we think, the more we learn. Now back to our tarp plot here. So this is one of our no-till plots. We've had the tarp on it at least a month, maybe a little over a month now. It's where we had some spring watermelons planted. We harvested all those, mowed it down, and then put the tarp on here. Now, much like pumpkins, watermelons is one of those crops where you're inevitably going to get some grass and weeds growing up, you know, around the plants and stuff as the fruits mature. Since this is a no-till plot, we didn't want to come in here with a tiller after we mowed it to try to terminate that grass. So we instead used the tarp here to try to, you know, kill all that grass off. Also, hopefully force any weed seeds in the top layer of that soil to germinate and then die because there's no light. Now, if you're tarping a plot for more than a month at a time, you probably want to pull back the tarp at least once a month. Check on your soil moisture there. Things can get too dry underneath there, just depending on the season, how much rain you've got, things like that. And you don't want it to get too dry underneath there. If it gets too dry, you know, you could have some soil biology kind of dying. And also, if it gets too dry, that soil can almost get hydrophobic and it really won't absorb water well when you do get ready to plant something there next. So I'm going to take off these bricks and kind of pull the tarp over this way, out of the range of our sprinkler. That way, when we're watering this plot, we're not putting a lot of water on top of that tarp and making it heavy to move back into position here. All right, so we got the tarp pulled off and we can see that any vegetation that was under that tarp is now dead. Now we may have to come in here and kind of rake out some of this grass and old watermelon vines before we plant anything here. I'm not going to do it today, but looks like the tarp has done its job as far as killing that grass, terminating any of those old watermelon vines. Now the soil here isn't super dry, but it's a little dry, so we definitely probably should give it some water. So we got our tripod sprinkler running here, and if we're going to water it, we might as well fertilize it too. So I'm going to turn off the water here for just a second. I've got my fertilizer injector here, which stays hooked up on this particular system all the time. Unscrew the lid on that. Dump a little bit of this water out. And then we're going to replace that water from this AgriThrive general purpose here. And I'm not going to measure this, but that should be good. Put our top back on here. Turn my water back on. And now we're injecting. So not only can we see that fertilizer being injected via the clear tube on the injector, we can also smell it coming through the sprinkler. And I don't know if y'all can tell on camera or not, but that water there has got a brownish tint to it because it's got that AgriThrive being added in. So we'll let that sprinkler run for at least an hour, get that soil nice and moist there. Also give time for that fertilizer injector to inject all that fertilizer. We want to wait till that tank runs clear. So we'll let the sprinkler do its thing. Once the plot is moistened, once all the fertilizers ran out of that injector, we'll put the tarp back on for at least another month. And then at the end of September, we'll do the same thing. Pull the tarp off. We may rake some of that grass and stuff out of there. We'll water it, fertilize it again, and that should hold us over until the beginning of November when we'll be ready to plant some garlic. So unless I change my mind between now and the beginning of November, my plan for that plot is to fill the entire thing with garlic. So we've got a bunch of nice elephant garlic from this past year's grow out that we're going to be planting in there, maybe 5 or 6 rows or so. I try to keep multiplying my elephant garlic stock year after year. We seem to plant a little bit more year after year. Now once I decide how much of this I'm going to plant, if we do have any extra cloves left over, I'll be sure to let you guys know, and we'll put those on the website if we do have an abundance left over. Now this past year we also tried soft neck garlic, and we did pretty good with that. We had to put the cloves in the fridge for 2 months before we planted to kind of trick it through a cold period, but that worked, and we ended up with some nice cloves on all our soft neck varieties that we grew this past year. So we grew 2 varieties that were artichoke types, which tend to make a little bigger clove, and then we grew 2 other varieties which were these silver skin types, which have a lot more cloves per head, but the cloves are a lot smaller. Now our soft neck garlic has stored really well under the barn, and I shouldn't have to purchase any seed garlic, so we should have plenty underneath the barn. We can plant what we harvested earlier this year. But I'm not going to plant all 4 of those soft neck varieties that we grew last year. These silver skin types here that have the smaller cloves but a lot of cloves per head, it's really good garlic. Tastes really good, but the cloves are a little bit of a pain to peel if you're peeling a bunch of them at one time. So I don't think I'm going to grow the silver skin ones again. I am going to grow these artichoke types. So we got 2 varieties, Island Star and Kettle River Giant. Got a decent amount of seed garlic from both of those. And so soon, probably the next day or so, I'm going to be taking all my artichoke type soft neck garlic, putting that in the fridge, because we'll need 2 months of chill time, the month of September and the month of October, if we're going to get this in the ground in early November. And then as far as the silver skin garlic goes, if you like growing silver skin garlic, maybe you like the smaller cloves, or if you've never tried soft neck garlic and want to give it a try, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure we got enough of this. We can put it on the website if enough of you guys want to give it a try and grow some. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and don't forget, if you are someone who mulches your garden with grass clippings, how do you keep from adding a bunch of grass seeds to your garden? Fill me in on that. As far as the red mulch goes, if you've heard anything different than what I stated, as far as, you know, nothing really to worry about with the red mulch, please fill me in. If you got any good links, point me in that direction as well. And also don't forget to let me know if you'd like to see us put some of this garlic on our website so you can give it a try in your garden. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to check out our affiliate links below. A lot of great companies that we use in our garden here at Lazy Dog Farm. Even got some coupon codes for some of those companies so you can take advantage of those discounts. Don't forget to go check out our website, lazydogfarm.com, where we've got some new blogs up, new recipes up, recommended products, all kind of good stuff over there. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification button, like, and share, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.
Oh, farewell, by the beauty of your life.